A huge, fiery chain reaction accident on Interstate 75 in Tennessee. More than 75 cars and trucks slam into each other, creating a half-mile-long trail of death and destruction. At least 12 people die. More than 40 are injured. Good evening. I'm Brenda Wood. Jim Axel has the evening off. It happened in a thick morning fog about 40 miles north of the Georgia border, near the town of Calhoun, Tennessee. Channel 5's Jim Schuler is just back from the scene. He has more on the story.
From the air, thick fog and the smoky fires of burning semi-trucks shrouded the full horror of the carnage on the interstate below. But on the ground, rescue workers agreed this could only be described as a highway disaster. Wreckage was strewn for a half-mile along I-75 north and south at the Lamontville, Tennessee exit. A truckload of organic peroxide burned out of control, spewing toxic fumes that overcame 2 state troopers. Here in morning fog so thick you couldn't see your feet, more than 75 cars, vans, and heavy trucks piled up in a sudden, deadly chain reaction accident. Alvin Shoemaker was with the first rescue units on the scene.
Of course, when we pulled up, you couldn't see anything. That's so much fog. And we had 3 tractor trailers burning on the lower end, so we went straight on to the tractor trailers that was burning.
Rescue workers say this stretch of I-75 is no stranger to highway fatalities. Firemen tell me that back in the early 70s, heavy fog in this same area caused a similar chain reaction accident.
Some of the people I talked with this morning came through it, and it was just a normal fog. Then 30 minutes later, it was a wall of fog. And so we're certainly going back to the drawing board and look at any more safety precautions that we can put up.
Firemen put out so many vehicle fires they lost count in the fog, only to discover more bodies trapped in the smoldering wreckage. 11 motorists were found dead at the scene. A priest performed last rites over the body bags at a temporary morgue set up in the highway median. A 12th victim died at a local hospital. At last count, 46 motorists were injured, many of them seriously, when the cars and trucks stacked up like firewood under the Exit 30 overpass early this morning. Firemen said it would be late afternoon before the northbound lanes of I-75 would be reopened. And rescue workers said the southbound lane will remain closed much of the night. In Calhoun, Tennessee, Jim Schuler, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
As we mentioned earlier, the fog is being blamed for that terrible accident this morning. And if you've ever had to drive through heavy fog, then you know what a problem it can be. Ken Cook joins us now from the Weather Center with a look at this phenomenon. Ken?
Brenda, fog is the name given to the phenomenon of clouds forming on or near the ground. This usually happens when warm, moist air suddenly moves over colder ground or water. The moisture in the air condenses upon cooling, and this forms the visible blanket that we know as fog. Fog is most common late at night and early in the morning when ground temperatures are their lowest. Some areas are more prone to heavy fog than others. For example, river valleys like the one at the scene of today's accident in Tennessee. In many regards, the Chattahoochee River here in Atlanta and North Georgia is subject to heavy fog at times. When entering areas of heavy fog, the safest precaution is to slow down and to increase the distance between you and the car in front of you. Remember, at even 30 or 40 miles an hour, it's going to take you 100 or 120 feet to stop. And if you can't see but 50 or 75 feet, you better be going slower than 30 miles an hour.